Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate agent and broker associate Michael Edlen of Coldwell Banker Previews International based out of Pacific Palisades, California. After having semi-retired from several years in a manufacturing company to do business consulting and portfolio management, Michael went into real estate 30 years ago. He has built up a team of 5 to 7 people, sold over 1,250 properties. It's about $1.5 billion in volume, and he has been in Coldwell Banker's top 10 agents in the United States. He has an MBA from UCLA, certified as an expert working with short sales and seniors. He is also a regular columnist for 3 newspapers. He's committed to giving back to the community he serves. He has contributed over $250,000 to various local schools and nonprofit organizations. All right, with all that said, Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Keith. It's my pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. We're honored to have you with us here today. And I guess, Michael, if we could start with, for our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something that you knew you always wanted to do, or did you maybe stumble into it?
Well, actually, Keith, I was retired. It was not something that I'd had in mind doing. We were in a family manufacturing business, and it was not much fun, but we did make a lot of money at it. And in the process, I decided that I didn't like that kind of business, but business was something I enjoyed. So after we sold it, I was in a retirement mode for a very short period, and then started doing management consulting and portfolio management until that became something that wasn't satisfactory. So I moved forward into real estate, the idea in mind of being of service to people who were looking for homes in a much more professional manner than what my wife and I had experienced when we had looked for our home many years earlier.
Excellent. And could you talk a little bit about some of the personal attributes or traits or qualities that you think have most contributed to the success that you've had in real estate?
Keith, I think the main aspect to that success is that from the very get-go, because of what motivated me to go into real estate, I've had a sincere interest in helping people. I've been committed from the very beginning of it to assisting buyers in finding an ideal home as close as it was possible to do. And the dedication and commitment to serving the client, I think, is my main explanation for how come I became so successful, although it took several years to get to that point. Being of service, I think, is the primary one. As far as following through from that, I quickly discovered that it took an awful lot of patience, much more empathy than I never had before, greater willingness to consider alternatives, persevering in the process, and not being attached to the outcome. Those were, I guess, most significant in terms of what got me to a successful level. What assisted me in getting some of the ideas to develop came from just studying life, practicing basic principles that I became aware of that were useful, and listening to tapes. In those years, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have online YouTube videos, so recorded tapes was a way of becoming more knowledgeable about different areas of expertise.
Excellent. And do you think you could give our listeners an example of when your traits have played a role in your path towards success?
Well, actually, Keith, I think every single client is an example of where those traits have been put to use in one way or another. The fiduciary responsibility that we take very seriously, leads every client representation opportunity to put us in a position where we really have to give thought to what would best serve that client's needs and what their interests and priorities that brought them to us, what they are. So to give any specific example, just every single one is a living example of it.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that speaks volumes, Michael. Like you said, is one of the primary things that you focus on is the serving others and providing value, and really not focusing on the outcome or the monetary gains, but to really focus on what that client needs and helping take care of those needs so they satisfy the solution and the outcome they're looking to achieve.
That's correct.
So, Michael, I think when it comes to success, now obviously you experienced it with your manufacturing company as well as what you've had in real estate. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the adversities or trials that you had to overcome in order to achieve your goals in real estate?
Well, on the one hand, that's a good question, Keith. On the one hand, my focus in life, and real estate is just one major area that I focus on life through, but I choose to focus on opportunities. My glass always has been full since I was a teenager, never half empty, always half full or more. So with abundance and opportunities as my focus, I don't perceive things much from the point of perspective of adversity. That being said, I did need to learn to listen much better than I had before, and pursuant to that, I learned the importance of asking questions rather than just talking. One of my biggest challenges, if there is one that created adversity, periodically still does, is that I can go on too much talking without asking enough questions to know more clearly what it is that is going to serve the client the best. So it's simply a function of focus and addressing those needs and opportunities as quickly as I become aware of them. I don't know if that answered the question that I thought you were asking, but that's how I perceive that.
No, absolutely, and normally I would follow up with, what kept you going despite the obstacles, or why didn't you give up? But I have a feeling that you're based upon your responses that, you didn't focus on the adversity, you didn't focus on the negativity, you focused, like you said, on the glass half full or overly full or abundance mentality, and I think that kind of answers everything, that you don't focus on the negative, you focus on the positive, and I think that is what has helped you move through each and every adversity that it did come up, like you said, and you moved past it quickly and continued to move closer to your goals and success.
That's a good way to characterize it, Keith. What you would ask is despite obstacles, what kept me going? Because I'm focused on the goal, and I keep my mind and attention on it as much as I can discipline my thought to do. Besides that, I'm tireless in the effort, and I'm relatively competitive to keep doing better. So I think those attributes enable me to move past what looks like an obstacle quickly and efficiently as I am able to.
Excellent. And Michael, I guess kind of looking forward, I mean, what do you see your vision continuing forward, say, over the next 3 to 5 years?
Over the next few years, a few things. One of them is because the new generation, if we can call them millennials, that's the current label, it's very different than the previous 2 or 3 that we were familiar working with. And so I've made a big effort in the last 2 years to master communications, understanding better how the current generation, especially of the new buyers, and soon gradually becoming more the sellers as well, that it requires a different set of skills and expertise than the previous. So my vision over the next few years in terms of the business aspect would come from that. I'm also in the process of building our team, adding a couple more specialists over the next year, and our digital footprint has been, relatively speaking, compared with most agents, we've done adequately, but I think for the next few years, increasing our digital footprint by a factor of 100% is very important for the future growth of our business.
Excellent. And I think you kind of touched upon some of the things as you move forward, but in general, I guess, what do you feel is the best way that you market yourself as a real estate professional so you can have continual growth?
Well, that one, because I'm focused on a relatively narrow market area, Pacific Palisades is kind of in between Santa Monica, where everyone knows it's a big city. We do service the northern half of Santa Monica very intensively, and Malibu on the other side of us. We're kind of a long, narrow, high demographic community, and wherever an ad can appear in this large area we service, which includes Brentwood, it's a large section of the west side of Los Angeles that also has a very high demographic. Anywhere that I can appear, I do. We're branded by just a tremendous continuity of marketing pieces. Our listings get enormous exposure, not only on all of the typical internet sites, but in any place that a magazine or newspaper gets to in our general large area around our small area. So that's the best way I discovered to market myself, and just being out there. I do open houses once or twice a month. Used to do them almost every week, and that was a way that my presence as the expert in this area began to grow.
Excellent. And Michael, I think sometimes when people look at real estate agents, they have misconceptions on what they actually do and what they can actually bring to the table to help them. What do you think the biggest misconception or myth that people have about working with a real estate agent is?
I think that's an easy one. I think the biggest misconception, Keith, is that real estate agents are all the same, because they've been perceived in general as a group of like used car salesmen or insurance salespeople. They're kind of bunched together as a commodity that people give a listing to or use to write a contract to buy a property, with the feeling, at least it seems still to be pervasive, that if someone has a license and they're calling themselves an expert in real estate in that area, that defines them as such. So I think that's the myth that many agents keep going, because it suits them to be considered just the same as someone who may have been doing it for 10 times longer and done 100 times more.
Excellent. And Michael, let's say you get a call from a family member and they're in another state, or a friend, and they want to sell their home. Obviously, with your experience and your connections, you could probably check out an agent or find somebody to work with them, or potentially do a referral. But from a general advice standpoint, what advice would you give them about selecting an agent that could best serve their needs? Kind of like you talk about taking care of your clients and making sure they get their needs fulfilled. What would you tell them to look for in selecting an agent?
I think that's a great question, Keith. I think I would approach that in the same way that I would approach if they asked me to help them find the agent for them, whether it was a family member or a friend or just someone I didn't know, but who had requested my input on it. The primary thing I consider is you're hiring someone, or they're hiring someone to do a job. And any employer who's hiring someone usually interviews, asks them questions. And when I approach this anywhere in the country, I'll make phone calls to the agents. I'll check them out. I'll vet them by asking them a series of pointed questions and quickly get to the bottom line if they're suitable for helping that individual with that property in that location. The kind of questions that I would ask, because your question is what advice would I give them, it would be question-based. I would definitely not select an agent based upon the price that they estimated for a home, which a lot of people do. I would definitely not recommend hiring someone because they're a friend or a relative. If anything, that might be a non-positive reason for making a determination which agent to work with. I think it would be helpful to ascertain the track record of that particular agent in the interview. How long they've been in real estate might be of significance. Whether they work in or very close to the neighborhood where the property is located. In most areas of the country, that could be important. It wouldn't matter to me merely how long they've been in real estate, but more importantly, over the last couple of years, what have they actually done? Have they sold homes? What price range? What was the initial list price? And what did they sell it at? What's their performance in regard to the sale versus list price? Those would be the kind of questions that I would suggest someone focus on. And if those things didn't help enough by that point in the questions, it should become pretty clear who's going to best serve their needs. However, if it's not, checking out their website would be another one. Calling their office manager and seeing in their market area, do they have someone they might even think is better, and why? Do they have any assistance? Do they have a team support system, or are they one-man band? Those would be the kind of questions that I'd suggest someone discover. And then bottom line is, what are they going to do that other agents wouldn't? What's their unique sales proposition that they think they should be selected based on?
Excellent advice. And Michael, if somebody is looking for real estate services or a real estate agent in the obviously the Pacific Palisades area of California, what's the best way they can find out more information about you and how you can help them?
They can either send me an email, Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, at michaeledlen.com, or they can send me a message by text, or they can call me at 310-600-7422, or they can reach me directly or indirectly at any time and leave as long a message as they wish if we don't get the phone, 310-230-7373. It's my office line.
Excellent. Well, Michael, obviously we want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come here today and share all of your professional real estate experience with our listeners. And if you're listening and you want to learn more about Michael and how he can help you, you can obviously visit the different places that he told you, or you can contact him via email or phone. Also below this interview, we're going to have all the information for Michael so that you can contact him either via site, phone, or email. That way you can quickly reach out and see if you guys would be a good fit to work together. So with all that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.